The college baseball experience opening day preview and picks episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up, and when you do, sign up with that promo code TCE SGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, earn up to $750 per month on your sports gambling transactions. Go to edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. And last but not least, we're brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey, this is Pac-Man Jones. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college baseball experience opening day. Christmas in February. Preview, picks, everything. YouTube.com/the college experience. Get on over there because the first step in crowning a champion on the road to Omaha starts tomorrow morning, and it starts really right here for us. I cannot wait for the slew of games. I was already planning out my day, telling my wife that, yes, in the morning I got to get up a little early because I go to sleep at the basketball show at like 4 a.m. Gonna have to get up a little early, have to get my son to walk in before the games, slew of games going on throughout the day too. I mean, isn't that just one of the beauties of college baseball is they kind of, it's spread out. It's not like the NFL where you just like, hey, here's a shit ton of games exactly at Sunday at 1. No, spread out through the day. So adjust accordingly, folks. If you're wondering who you're listening to, that's fair. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
He's the kind of guy that would drink a gallon of gasoline so he could piss in your campfire. You could drop this guy off at the Arctic Circle wearing a pair of bikini underwear without his toothbrush, and tomorrow afternoon he's going to show up at your poolside with $1 million smile and a fistful of pesos.
Fistful of pesos are coming. I can feel it already. It's that time of year. I am joined by my co-host, and I'm going to introduce. Yeah. I mean, look, he has not been on a plane today, but I know, because I've been checking Twitter. He's been talking college baseball all day. He is the host of the Breaking Bet podcast, former betting analyst for NBC Sports Bet. Give it up for the great Johnny V. How are you, brother?
We're finally here. We finally made it. I can't even describe the excitement that I have. I haven't been able to think about anything but college baseball all week. I made my call to 1-800-Flowers, got myself 2 dozen roses and a box of chocolates, maybe a little teddy bear to give myself the best Valentine's Day one could possibly give themselves. Excited for a day of doing nothing but vegging in front of the TV, watching every single goddamn game of college baseball's opening day. Special occasion, boys.
He even got the teddy bear with the Louisville Slugger. You know what I mean? He even found the teddy bear with the baseball bat. There we go. Hopefully arriving right at first pitch too, right? You told them don't be a minute early, don't be a minute late. Right at first pitch. Yeah.
Don't be late.
We're also what you expect what?
Not be late.
Yeah. Your tip is gone. Your tip is gone if you're late. We are also joined by third man in the booth. This guy he's been on buses, he's been through blizzards, been through monsoons. All right. He flew to the great state of Texas. got his wagers in probably at 30,000 feet right before they touch down. Give it up for the really the heartbeat of the college baseball experience, but on the boards with the college basketball and college football experience as well. Give it up for Noah Bieniek. How are you, brother?
What's going on, Colby? I'm currently inside the baseball house that we used to throw parties in during the weekends in the off season because it sounds like a rave inside Globe Life Field. But I'm having a hell of a time. I'm currently watching, as I tweeted it out on X there, the 2025 national champions take batting practice right now. Mason White hit 2 straight home runs out, and I'm feeling really confident in the Wildcats this year and David Matola's Wildcats. But I am 4.5 hours short of 24 hours straight. I had a 3 a.m. wake-up call for a 6:20 flight connection nightmare, but we're here and we're ready to go.
Yeah. I can't tell if he's really at the game, Johnny, or if he's at a Tame Impala concert. I'm not sure, but we'll figure it out at the end of the episode. But boys, we got games. I'm telling you, man. I was sitting there reading shit earlier today, looking at basically planning my televisions around where am I going to be hopping over to. Okay, we put this one on that one, that one on that one. I feel like I'm that Charlie Day meme, where it's just, you got the numbers going every which direction. We got games, and let's just get to the slideshow. YouTube.com/the college experience. If you're listening to this on the audio side, we're grateful. iTunes, Spotify, we're there. Please subscribe. It helps us. But if not, I highly suggest watching the show because we got great slides and everything. And it starts off, look at this font. Cursive. I have a hard time reading cursive. There we go.
It's a baseball font. It's not totally cursive either. It's just
it
nice
looks good,
enough
brother.
To not be cursive.
It looks good. I just like to have fun with it. Oklahoma State. Are you using the Oregon State symbol for Oklahoma State?
No, they're very, very similar, but this is Oklahoma State.
Very similar. Oklahoma State will be in Arlington, Texas. Globe Life Field, where Noah Bieniek claims he's at right now. Take it on my Clemson Tigers, where if you go back and check our episode we did last night, several episodes we did last night, but the look ahead for teams that could potentially looking for some value to get to the College World Series. I threw out the Clemson Tigers, even though I did throw them out a year ago. Here we are. Oklahoma State's plus 105 on the money line. Clemson minus 135 on the money line. The run line minus 105 at plus 120. Meanwhile, the Cowboys are plus 105 on that run line at minus 154. Gentlemen, both teams getting a lot of hype. I'd say Oklahoma State maybe getting a little more this year. Call me crazy, but Bieniek, Clemson is, to me, flying a little bit under the radar. Would you agree? Who's getting more hype coming into the year?
I don't necessarily think that Clemson's flying under the radar. I mean, Johnny's got him in Omaha, and you have him winning the ACC. So what are we talking about here?
Wow.
Starting pitching matchup here, a very intriguing one. Gabe Davis got the nod. He is going to be the Friday night starter. He was dealing with an injury all fall and for most of the preseason, but they're giving him the go. I don't know how long he's necessarily going to go, and that goes for a lot of pitchers early on in the year. Most starting pitchers the first 3 weeks aren't going to really stretch out to 6 or 7 innings in most starts. We saw in this very tournament 2 years, or not even 2 years ago, it was last year, the second weekend of the year, Hagen Smith was absolutely dealing, got pulled after 78 pitches in 6 innings. I just think a lot of these studs aren't really going to go deep into the games, and you're really handicapping offenses more than normal. And that's where I think Oklahoma State actually has a shot. They opened as the favorite in this matchup. And to me, I think Aiden Knock goes 5 innings here for the Tigers, and Gabe Davis goes 3 or 4. And then I think Clemson lost a good bit of power from last year's team. So I'm really interested to see if they are able to show that they can replace that in game 1. I'm gonna take the dog here with the Pokes. That's how I'm starting off the show.
Will they have a home edge? I mean, I'm asking that. I'm not stating that. Will they have a home edge? Dallas, not a far drive from Oklahoma. No.
Friday at noon or 11:30, whenever this game starts officially. I don't know if Stillwater's traveling. They are a very passionate fan base, but I'm not sure if you're getting down here for the early game. So.
Yeah. Well, Johnny, now I feel even better about my Clemson Tiger play, but brother.
I have been waiting for this matchup all week. This is the one I've circled. This is probably the most competitive matchup that we have for day one. I was going over some numbers before the lines came out throughout this week. I'm like, well, I'm going to project that Aiden Knox going for Clemson. That's the most likely scenario. Although Oklahoma State, I wasn't sure who was going to go. I actually thought Harrison Bodendorf was going to go, the transfer from Hawaii. So I am a little surprised that Gabe Davis, their top reliever, is going to open here. But I don't imagine that he's going to go much more than one time through the lineup. Big 6'9" right-handed flamethrower, insane strikeout, swing and miss stuff. But for me, the reason why I liked Clemson here, and I was surprised when they opened as an underdog, I felt before the lines came out that if Clemson was minus 150 or smaller, it was a definite play for me. Clemson's getting a lot of love right now. It's moved from minus 110 underdog to minus 135 favorite. I do get a little bit worried that so many people like Clemson here, but the reason why I like the Tigers is because of the pitching matchup. Now, Noah said most likely these big-time arms, especially these star Friday night guys, aren't going to be going very deep into ball games in the first few weeks. But that still doesn't mean Aiden Knox not going to go 5 innings. I would imagine he does. And the thing is, Oklahoma State plays in a launch pad at Stillwater. They're a team that can hit a pop-up and the ball travels out and it changes the entire game. And yes, Clemson has a small-ish ballpark as well. But I like Clemson here offensively because, number one, I'm not as sold on Oklahoma State's pitching staff. They have a lot of high-octane guys, but the handle can get lost very quickly for some of these big-time Oklahoma State arms. And I like Clemson's ability in this monster of a ballpark that's even big for professional baseball players, for the Texas Rangers.
Third worst park factor for hitters in the MLB last season.
I like the fact that Clemson is going to be able to string together 3, 4, 5 hits. Cam Cannarella back fully healthy. I like it. Oklahoma State is a good offense. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of bats, even without Carson Bench and Zach Earhart, who left in the offseason. Nolan Schubart, you've heard me talk about this all January. This guy is one of my big Golden Spikes tickets. But the thing is, I don't know if this offense can string together 3, 4 hits against Aiden Knox like I think Clemson will be able to against Oklahoma State's pitching staff. I think this is going to be a very tight game. I think it's going to be probably the best game of the Friday slate. But at the end of the day, I'm going with the better pitcher, Aiden Knox. I think even with Eric Bakich not going to be in the dugout in this game, serving that suspension from the super regional fiasco against Florida, he still mapped out the pitchers he wants going for Friday. I think they're going to go Aiden Knox with their best relievers. I think it's going to be enough to edge out Oklahoma State here. The Cowboys are going to have a great year, but I think Colby was right. Clemson's being a little bit slept on in terms of how they usually are preseason. So give me the Tigers here on the money line.
I will say, like, the Eric Bakich thing is something that I'm not like, that's not a whole big reason why I have the handicap that I do, picking the Pokes to win. Another cool storyline. I mean, Josh Holliday and Eric Bakich, both disciples of Tim Corbin over at Vanderbilt. Both were assistant coaches for the Commodores. And Bakich originally recruited Nolan Schubert to Michigan before Bakich took the Clemson job. Schubert then relocates to Oklahoma State, and without Bakich in the dugout, we'll see if Schubert's able to do any damage against the Tigers.
I heard that Bakich, from his hotel room is going to be on the call at one point.
Yes, outstanding.
I mean, how great is that going to be? What a dumb, first off, can we talk about this? Your sport is thriving. It's getting more popular every year. And you penalize this guy for some shit last year.
It's 2 years in a row now too from the postseason. Two eliminations in a row. That's some random shits happened in their games.
Yeah, I'm on Clemson too. I think they're going to want to get up for their skipper. Jake Jarrell and Luke Gaffney and Jaron Purify. The bats are going to be hot tomorrow. Give me these Clemson Tigers, as obviously I'm high on them in general. Let's go Tigers. ACC going to have I've seen these articles popping up out there about how the ACC might be a little bit more underrated than people think. Might have a breakthrough season. We'll see. But give me the Tigers as well. What's that?
The one team that I didn't get to see take BP because I landed at around noon. They started their BP at noon. They ended at 1:30. I saw 10 minutes of it. I would have loved to have gotten a picture with Jaron Purify because both me and him played in the same travel ball organization. So I would have tweeted that out, but unfortunately unable to do so.
How young are you?
I mean the whole COVID shit, but. He is like 4 years younger than me, but it was the same org, and we had the same coach. So,
and we're brought to you by getting sued by House of Pain.
Yeah. But what else was I going to say? I can't remember. Let's move on.
Yes. There we go. As luckily, I actually think I can get that clearance. I'm friends with Danny Boy. I think I can make that happen. I think I can make a phone call. Good friends, a former road manager of them. We might be able to steer our way out of this, even though I didn't know Tame Impala was covering House of Pain these days. But
to answer place your orders question here too. At the end of the show, we just rattle through our entire card. So we'll do more than just give out a parlay. So plenty of stuff at the end there.
Let's go. And Weston in there already talking about UT Arlington. College baseball is the best. Let's go. Next up on the slate, Michigan in Puerto Rico, taking on the Wahoos of Virginia, the Cavaliers. Michigan's plus 230 on the money line. Run line plus 3.5 at minus 130. Meanwhile, the Wahoos are minus 315 on the money line. Obviously, run line minus 3.5 at plus 100. The over under at 12.5 runs. I always, that's another thing too. Sometimes you can find a great edge on these over under run lines. Bieniek, you're a Michigan fan. I feel like maybe I don't know if I should go to you first on this because you're a Michigan fan.
Don't go to him.
There we go, Johnny. What's going on in this Michigan Virginia game, and why should we take the Wahoos?
It's pretty cool, man. They have all these tournaments, and this is what I love about the first few weeks of college baseball. There's all these different tournaments across different parts of the country. You have teams that ordinarily wouldn't play each other, but they get to be part of these tournaments. And it's different because these tournaments aren't weekend series. So Virginia's going to play Michigan, and they're going to play a couple other teams for the rest of the weekend. So it changes the way you would normally handicap a weekend series and, the chess match that goes on. In this particular case, Virginia is a team that I am very high on. They're in my tier 1 bucket of teams to win the College World Series. Evan Blanco, their Friday night guy, their ace, is not pitching this weekend. He's had a setback with an injury. It's going to be Jay Wolfork going for Friday night. He really blossomed late down the stretch last year. Big bullpen guy, typically closer, transitioned back into the starting rotation. Michigan, I don't know if they're going to come ready to play. Game in Puerto Rico. We're not laying the 315 money line with Virginia, but I have UVA as a centerpiece for a couple parlays. I like UVA in the money line, and I think typically in college baseball, there's a lot of room to monetize these parlays. The money line parlays are something that you usually don't get a lot of advantage of in other sports, but college baseball is different. I think Virginia, even with Jay Wolfork, is going to come out, have a great first game. Their offense is going to be elite this year, expecting a big day from one of my Golden Spikes premier candidates, Henry Ford. I think Virginia in a money line parlay with some teams that we'll mention later is the way to go. First piece, great piece as an anchor in that money line parlay.
Yeah, there we go. Shout out to Damani, born in Puerto Rico. Love Puerto Rico. Shout out to all the Puerto Ricans out there. And look, I mean, minus 315. I know it's not great, but I do like that parlay angle. I don't know that I would play it straight up just because of that juice, but I mean, I'm not going to lay 3.5 runs an opening day. Johnny, do you have any take on that over under on the 12?
I have the over. I'm betting the over. You should have came to me.
Let him take the total. Let him take the total.
I'm betting this. This is going over. Dylan Bigu had an ERA close to the 8s. And then Jay Woolfolk, like Johnny mentioned, he struggled early on last year. Virginia's lineup's loaded. Michigan has some good players in it as well. One of them being Mitch Voigt. Jonathan Kim also returns. There's some good pieces, and then there's a bunch of transfers that come from the West Coast that will get on base. And Sweet Caroline.
I don't know them. I can't. We're definitely sued. We're definitely sued.
But what I will say is this is always an angle that I love to back. Northern ball teams heading to warm weather, all they've been doing is hitting in gyms. The entire winter, they are ready to go with the bats. On the mound, it's a little bit of an issue. Fielding as well, there are some miscues more than you would typically see from Northern ball clubs in May. But, yeah, I like the over here quite a bit, over 12.5.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny, I was curious your take because I'm tempted to buy into that over 12.5 too. Jay Woolfolk, I knew him from when he played UVA football. But what's your take on that total?
I don't have anything official on that, but I tend to agree with Noah. I think 12.5 is a little light here. Jay Woolfolk is a talented pitcher, but he is susceptible to getting hit around a little bit. Michigan's got some guys on offense. Noah knows all too well the kind of talent or lack thereof that the Michigan Wolverines have. I think they're going to be able to score somewhere between 3 and 5 runs, considering Jay Woolfolk's probably going to go 4, maybe 5 innings. Virginia's pitching I expect to be a lot better this year, but it wouldn't surprise me to see some kinks getting worked out. I think, quite frankly, UVA could score 8-9 runs by themselves. God damn it, they might even get this over home in their own regard. This offense is going to be so goddamn good this year that this might be the best offense in the country. UVA is going to be top 10, maybe top 5 in just about every major offensive category. And what better way to prove us right than hang a 10 spot in Puerto Rico on opening day?
All right, I'm in on the over. Let's go, Bieniek. And I know that rave is rocking. Sweet Caroline. I didn't know that would be played at a rave. Just make sure you take the Molly when they give it to you.
I'm doing it for Mac, the West Virginia fan. Yeah, he hates this. His ears are bleeding.
Folks, before we get to the next game, I want to let you know that the college baseball experience is Molly. Do it. No, we're part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. They love Molly too. And football's over. College baseball is beginning, but also NASCAR is back. So start your engines. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona to sign up today for their totally free Daytona 500 contest where, to enter, you get a chance at winning $100 cold hard cash, $100 SGPN gift card, plus some random bonus prizes. I don't care. Look, I've never watched a NASCAR race in my entire life, and it's full for the whole race. I've never done that. But guess what? I still enter these contests trying to win some cash. Let's go. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Daytona to sign up today. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, SGPN has partnered up with Edge Boost, the premier Visa debit card for bettors. An Edge Boost card allows you to avoid the hassle of having your card denied at the sportsbook, DFS site, sweepstakes site, racetrack, or casino. I mean, we all know somebody, or maybe you've experienced it yourself, where you're just not, your card's just not going to work there. They might get you before you use the card. You might owe a little coin around town. I don't know. My uncle was notorious for that. I remember going to Pimlico, and by the time we got in, this back in the 80s. So, I mean, I don't even know, but they saw his face. No. You got to get out of here, man. You got to get out of here. Yeah. So it was just like, oh, what's going on? And he's just saying, he caught him jerk offs. He's like, these jerk offs don't know what's going on. Look, you can earn up to $750 per month in cashback rewards with Edge Boost. for using your Edge Boost card. And that's enough for me right there. And your money's safe as it's FDIC insured. And the best part is no credit check. My uncle would love that. And it's completely free. Sign up today. Use the promo code SGPN to get better cashback rewards and instant tier 2 status. So hop on over there. Once again, edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by mybookie.ag. Yes. Look, MyBookie is your place to bet every sport. Plus they got, every game for props in game, live dealer casinos, always a bundle of fun. And look, MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations, even outside of the US. It's easy to deposit. You get lightning fast payouts using crypto. So head over to mybookie.ag. Use that promo code TCESGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Plus, they're going to give you a little $10 casino chip just to get your beak wet. That's mybookie.ag, promo code TCESGPN. All right, we are back. Shout out to Dumfries Tickler in the chat, right? He's there. Next up, we got the Musketeers representing the Big East, right? Xavier Musketeers in Surprise, Arizona. Where the hell is that, by the way? I've been to Arizona a bunch. Remember Surprise, Arizona.
It's actually Oregon State's home away from home. They usually get a really good crowd down there for early season games. So this is going to be a Beaver crowd.
Is that by Tucson, Phoenix, Flagstaff? Where the hell is that by?
I think it's northern Arizona.
Okay, beautiful. I love northern Arizona. My favorite part of Arizona. Xavier is taking on Oregon State. Xavier's plus 220 on the money line. Run line plus 3.5, minus 120 at that. The Beavs, meanwhile, obviously first year outside of the Pac-12, minus 300 on the money line. The run line, obviously, minus 3.5 at minus 110 odds. The over-under at 14.5. Johnny, what do you make of this one? Xavier, I decent, I guess, but Oregon State's kind of a blue blood in college baseball. So what do you make of this game?
Same token as Virginia. Obviously, you're not going to lay minus 300 with Oregon State, even against Xavier. Xavier was interesting last year, especially early in the season. They got up for some of these games. They were able to take down outright some of these bigger opponents. I don't necessarily think they're going to beat Oregon State here, but I think Oregon State, like Virginia, is going to be part of that parlay piece. Couple big favorites, blue-blooded programs, teams that are capable of making a run. I like Oregon State. Put them with Virginia. You get somewhere around minus 130 with that. I think that's a fair parlay. It's got a good shot. Nelson Keljo, a lot of juice this year. That's who's starting for Oregon State. It's not the freshman sensation Dax Whitney. He's going on Saturday, but Nelson Keljo's got a lot of talent. I think this is a pretty good piece to put Oregon State in one of those money line parlays.
I like it. Bieniek, how about you? The Musketeers, big hopes into the season. But Oregon State, life begins after the Pac-12 here in baseball. What are you doing here?
The total being this high kind of tells me that this is going to kind of be a Beaver runaway game. Xavier, I'm sorry. I kind of am lost in the music here. Not sure if Johnny mentioned it, but Jake Hooker is starting for the Muskies. He only pitched 16 innings last season. So that was his freshman year. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be expecting from him. Obviously got to be one of their better pitchers, but then again, I think this Oregon State lineup, top to bottom, is going to be able to get the job done against Xavier here in game one, the first game of the season. I think they come out ready to go, and the Beavs win this thing by 3 or 4. They're probably less of a run line play, more of a money line parlay piece for me with Oregon State. Nelson Keljo, I think he's going to be all right. I'm not too high on him in most other spots, but against Xavier, I think he might be able to get the job done relatively to what we need him to go 4 or 5 respectively and hand it over to the bullpen.
There we go. I know you're lost in the music at that rave, but Bieniek, you can tell us the truth.
The only thing on my mind, Gene, was pussy.
Next up, we got UC Irvine in Scottsdale, Arizona. Taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Irvine, the Anteaters there at -130 money line. The run line at -1.5 at +130. So if you're looking to take the Anteaters, maybe that's something you circle. Meanwhile, Nebraska, we were all high on them in our Big Ten preview talk. Nebraska +100 on the money line. The run line at +1.5 at +100. The over/under is set at 11.5. Johnny, what do you make of this one? This could be a good one here, going on there in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good matchup. We talked a lot about Nebraska in the Big Ten. I personally think that they're going to win their conference. I feel like Oregon's getting so much love, and I understand that Oregon's a good team. But Nebraska, even though they lost Brett Sears, who was one of the best pitchers in the country last year, they have a really, really talented Friday night guy by the name of Mason McConaughey. As far as I know, no relation to Matthew McConaughey, but I mean, realistically, if you look at what Mason McConaughey did last year, very talented, 9-3 record, 3.45 ERA, 2.7 Sierra, which is fantastic. Struck out 91 batters to only 24 walks in 73 innings. Mason McConaughey is going to challenge as one of the best pitchers in the Big Ten. UC Irvine does have some talent. Even though they lost their best player, Caden Kendall, they have Anthony Martinez, who's going to be a Golden Spikes candidate, preseason Golden Spikes candidate at least. I'm not 100% sure who's going for UC Irvine, if it's Ricky Ojeda or it's Brandon Liu. No,
Danny Suarez.
It's Danny Suarez?
Yeah, candidate off of Tommy John surgery. And this pitching staff is really deep. For him to win the Friday night starting job, I think this guy's going to be I think he's going to be a stud.
I like Nebraska this year. I didn't actually place a bet in this game, but gun to my head, I think Nebraska being the underdog is incorrect here. They have the better pitcher. They have a pretty good bullpen. Drew Christo was a stud last year. They have a lineup with a couple big-time transfers. Give me Nebraska here, even money.
Yeah, you got to like the even money there, considering Power 5 school against a mid-major, and you can get those odds. Bieniek, let me ask you about that over under 11.5. You got a teeter on that?
I think this is more of a low scoring game. Both of these teams are very pitching heavy this season, very strong staffs. I see very few runs being scored in this game. I think UCI actually has a little bit more proven production in that lineup, even though Nebraska returned 6 or 7 guys. That was just kind of their weakness of their team last year. UC Irvine's got Anthony Martinez, who I'm not sure if Johnny already mentioned him. I apologize if I'm repeating, but this kid's a stud, one of the better power hitters on the West Coast. And I think he could give you a tank. And that's honestly, again, Nebraska struggled in just getting a big hit when they needed it. And in a low scoring game, I think that's what it might come down to. Give me the Anteaters. I like it under 11.5 in this one. But if you're asking me for like a run line pick, I would take Nebraska. I think it might be a 1 or 2 run game here.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, just to note, this is also part of another tournament, Desert Invitational out in Arizona. Fantastic tournament. We'll get to the Vanderbilt Grand Canyon game after, but Nebraska has Irvine on tomorrow, and then Saturday they play Vanderbilt. So it's a very interesting dynamic of how they have to map out their weekend series among a couple different teams. Irvine to Vanderbilt Friday to Saturday is that's a tough start for the Cornhuskers.
Yeah, is there such a thing as a look ahead to start the season?
If you're starting your ace, no. I would say no. It would have to be like, Texas A&M for it to be considered a look ahead in my book if you've got your ace on the mound. So it's just a confidence thing. It's like a mentality thing. When you've got your number one going, you believe that you can win every single day.
There we go. I'll join on the Cornhuskers too. I'm going to jump in on that action as well. Next up, we are going to we're betting this because, where are
you betting it?
Yeah, but you got to get on over to the river. George Mason, ECU, Greenville, North Carolina. We are waiting for odds to drop, but I will be betting this. You better believe that.
They're not coming.
You sure? How do you know that for sure?
I'm pretty sure. They don't really come out with more games, DraftKings at least. And I thought that
it's up at Bet Rivers. It's up.
What
at
do you
Bet
have it
Rivers.
at?
What's the odds?
East Carolina's minus 590. George Mason's plus 370.
Oh.
I mean, if there was a run line and George Mason was getting like 4.5 runs, maybe. But I mean, East Carolina, no Trey Savage, no Zach Root. I'm not as high in East Carolina this year. I mean, they play in a weak conference, but George Mason's that bad. Didn't George Mason get smoked by like 20 runs at the baseball at the beach to start the season last year by Coastal?
They did. They did. I remember it.
I think they cut the music, so we're good. But yeah, George Mason got, destroyed.
Well, you know what the play is then. Just load up. Whew, that song's just heat. They play that at the play that at the rave. You're guaranteed to get asked. Guaranteed, right there. All right, we'll jump it over to the next game. We got Ole Miss, Arizona, Arlington, Texas. Noah Bieniek will be there. David Matola has already hit him up saying, you better be taking Arizona. We this is an interesting spot because Ole Miss, obviously a few years back, won it all. And Arizona is a team that I think we were kind of high on, at least myself and Bieniek here. The money line for Ole Miss is at minus 115. The run line at plus 105 at minus 175 odds. The Wildcats of Arizona, obviously minus 115 on the money line. The run line minus 105 at plus 135. The over-under set at 10.5 runs. Johnny, I know you were a little bit higher on the Sun Devils than the Wildcats, but what do you like here?
I mean, I still like Arizona in the Big 12. They're going to be extremely competitive. They're going to be live. The reason why I like Arizona State more than Arizona was because of the starting pitching. Anytime you lose your entire weekend rotation like Arizona did, it's tough to replace. And, they didn't just have one or two good starters. Their entire rotation was really good. Most teams don't have two really good weekend starters. Arizona had three. So now they have to try and replace the whole rotation again. And, listen, they get Colin McKinney as their Friday guy from Baylor. I mean, he was okay last year. But I really like this Arizona offense. Every year, this Wildcat offense hits. It's death by 1,000 cuts. They have two stars that might be first rounders this year. Mason White, drafted him in our fantasy league. Ton of power, shortstop that's only going to get better. As soon as he cuts down on the strikeouts, he's a legitimate shortstop candidate, first round star. And Brendan Summerhill. Brendan Summerhill is a great player, even though his stats in the box score didn't necessarily reflect a superstar. But he is a superstar, and I think he's going to take a big jump this year statistically. I like Arizona's offense, and that's why if I'm forced to go with a play here, nothing here made my card because I don't like the pitching matchup, especially for Arizona. But if Colin McKinney can just be decent, I think this Arizona offense can score enough. Ole Miss is starting Hunter Elliott. Hunter Elliott was a huge piece that helped them win that College World Series a couple years ago, but he's missed basically the last 2 years coming off Tommy John. So I don't imagine he's going to go more than a few innings, and then it's going to be a lot of bullpen. And ultimately, I just don't know if Ole Miss's offense has enough juice. Lose Andrew Fisher, you lose Liam Doyle, one of the key pieces from last year's pitching staff. I don't know if Ole Miss has enough offensively, so that's why I think Arizona would be the side for me if I was forced to pick a side.
All right, Bieniek. I know that me and you, I have to play this based off of my my take on Arizona, but I'm curious what your thoughts are here on what is the best option for the Wildcats, and are you still going with the Wildcats here?
Well, I'm not betting this game mainly because I do believe that Elliott could throw a wrench in the entire thing. He's that good of a pitcher when he's on the right day. I said at the top of the show, I don't think he's really going to go more than 5 or 6. But the Tommy John thing, I think, is in the rearview mirror. He was throwing just fine in the fall. Actually, Mike Bianco thinks he's throwing better than he's ever had. He's up 3 miles an hour fastball. He adapted or added a slider to his repertoire, and he still has that elite changeup. So I think this kid's still going to be a really damn good pitcher. My guess, though, is that the rust in game situation is what catches up with him rather than, I think he's coming off Tommy John and I don't think he's going to pitch that well. These are experienced hitters on the Arizona lineup that I think they have a couple of studs in there, like Johnny mentioned with Summerhill and White. And I think they're going to be able to pounce on Elliott and the experienced pitching staff that Ole Miss has. They've got a couple of seniors, not just Elliott, that have thrown all right in the SEC. They're an interesting bunch, kind of the de facto basement or 15th place team in the SEC because not a lot of people have faith in them, but they have pieces to be a regional team in the NCAA tournament. This is going to be a good game as well. I cannot wait to watch all three of these games on Friday. My pick is Arizona to win it. I think this goes under. I think it stays under, and Arizona -1.5 would be my pick on the run line.
Alrighty, there we go. And one thing I wanted to touch on with the ECU George Mason game is that is now a double header.
Yeah.
Because,
oh my God, the weather on the East Coast is crazy. There's been a lot of changes in schedules. There's a lot of double headers. If you're playing these games on the East Coast, make sure you know exactly which bet or which game your bet is going on to.
I am making the assumption that Texas Tech, North Carolina will follow suit if they haven't already announced it.
Yeah, which I got fucked on that because I had to place all of my bets last night prior to leaving. And I hope – I don't know who North Carolina's throwing. I hope I have game one, though, because Texas Tech is throwing Hoyer, their better arm, in game two.
Yeah, but typically, well, hold on. And typically, what happens is during doubleheaders, they usually post the first game.
Yes.
So most of the time when you make a bet and it's a doubleheader day, it's typically for the first game.
Typically, you just got to check the time.
Yeah, and just know that if you're looking to play one of these games in the Carolinas, I think they're getting hit by a ton of rain there. So pay attention to that as well. Before we get to the next game, I do want to let the people know that the college baseball experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, Underdog Fantasy is just fantastic. You can find an edge you can't find elsewhere when it comes to college hoops, NHL, NBA, NFL, college football, CFL, UFL, MMA, everything really. So jump on over there and sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Once again, underdogfantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Yes. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds. Look, you can sit back and copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or you could, build your own, which I like to do. And then Rhythm will adjust around what you like. And let me tell you, that Rhythm app has it all. They got everything else too. The NFL picks, props, college hoops, NBA, MLB. Rhythm has it all. Claim your 7-day free trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. All right, we are back talking college baseball. Obviously, opening day upon us. We're super excited. Bieniek, are we ready to go back to the slides, or why did we switch to this shot? Oh, okay. This is another one you got to worry about being a doubleheader. I don't know that they've announced it yet. I haven't seen it, but Cincinnati, a team that I know we spoke somewhat highly of within the Big 12 one. I don't think we called for them to be contenders winning the conference, but just thought that they could be a lot better. They are heading into Durham, North Carolina to take on the Duke Blue Devils, a team that a lot of people are high on in the ACC. Their Duke is -300 on the money line. Cincinnati +220 on the money line. The run line for the Cincinnati Bearcats at +205 at -105. Meanwhile, Duke -2.5. They're at -125. The over under at 11.5. I'm very curious to hear what you guys say, because I was looking at this game, and I mean, is there an angle at potentially the over under here? Or what's the best option for you, Johnny?
Yeah, so I talked about this on my Breaking Bet podcast a little while ago. This is one of the rare weekend series that we're getting for the top teams. I got to be honest, like Duke was a team I was really high on last year. I had them as a team that could make the College World Series. I had some money on them to win it. And I got to be honest, I don't love Duke this year. I don't think they're going to be bad. I just don't think they're going to be one of the top teams. They lost so much juice, especially in the bullpen. Charlie Bielenson, Fran O'Shell, Jimmy Romano. Kyle Johnson's supposed to get the start tomorrow for the first game. And listen, this is their two-way star prize. This is a guy who's going to be a very high draft pick next summer. They got him, AJ Gracia, also going to be a top draft pick next summer. But my thing is this. Every year we have one of these top teams that's a big favorite that ends up losing. So Florida last year lost to St. John's, my Johnnies. You're not going to get every one of these big favorites win. Cincinnati is live to win one game this weekend. And even though Kyle Johnson's throwing tomorrow, like Kyle Johnson's very talented. He's going to be a very good pitcher this year, but it was a mixed bag last year. So he's going to have some capability to get rocked a little bit. I don't think Cincinnati's a pushover.
Mixed bag is a 4.38 ERA in the ACC as a freshman in 49 innings. I'll take it.
Yeah, but we're saying overall, but I'm saying in this particular game, like first game of the season, Cincinnati, we talked about it. They have some talent. They're a team that's going to be able to hit. They have a decent pitcher and transfer Kellen O'Connor going from CS Bakersfield. I feel like Cincinnati is going to win one of these games this weekend. Plus 220 on the money line is an interesting nibble. I think the run line at plus 2.5 is pretty appealing. I just feel like Duke is going to lose one of these games. Kellen O'Connor last year for Cal Bakersfield, 2.89 ERA, only 24 walks in 81 innings, not a ton of strikeouts. But, listen, I just feel like the Duke Blue Devils can have a little bit of a regression this year. I don't know if they're going to lose this game per se, but I definitely think they lose one game this weekend. Getting 2.5 runs in a potential upset spot is something that I would probably look into.
Bieniek, your thoughts on this one? Because I'm pretty convinced adding this to the parlay card right here at plus 2.5. Your thoughts, Bieniek?
I'm on the Duke side. I think that this is a tough matchup for Cincinnati, actually. The pitchability of their staff gives them a really high floor when it comes to the entire season. But when you're looking at this Duke roster, up and down, it has pop. And when you're pitching to contact, you flirt with disaster with the long ball. And for most of the weather on Friday, it should be all right. We had Sabres edge pressure Washington. Sunday is kind of the disaster day that everybody's trying to avoid over there in the Carolinas and the East Coast. But like Ben Miller, big time returnee in this lineup. 15 tanks last year, over 1,000 OPS. AJ Gracia, 1,000 OPS, 14 home runs, 14 doubles. Wallace Clark has some good pop in his bat. Jake Hyde transfers in from Georgetown after hitting double-digit home runs last season. Ben Rounds as well from Harvard, who had a almost 1,200 OPS there. I just think it's a tough matchup the entire weekend for Cincy going up against Duke. I think Duke will be able to put some pretty good contact on a couple of these arms from the Bearcats this weekend. So not too high on my Cincy guys this weekend, but I think rosier outcomes further down the season.
I don't know. I mean, listen, it's a fair point, but I would definitely be careful about putting Duke in a money line parlay. They're gonna get bitten in the ass one of these games. I have a feeling.
I didn't say money line parlay though. I'm not that confident.
He's just saying in general. I think though he's just saying. I was talking about a parlay.
You said 2.5 for.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe throw in the plus 2.5 runs at minus 105 into a parlay, but
I wouldn't do it against Kyle Johnson in the start. Game 2 or game 3 could target it because Andrew Healy's not in the starting rotation here. I don't know what's going on with him. He was supposed to be one of their more steady arms this season. I don't know if they're going to use him out of the bullpen like they have his first 2 seasons, but interesting move from their camp.
Yeah. Next up, this is the game. I had this one circled as like just the one I can't wait to watch. Anyone got odds on this Texas Tech North Carolina game going on in Chapel Hill? Would love to. Yeah.
MGM has UNC as a -285 favorite, and Texas Tech is +210. There is no run line or total out. It's not on DraftKings. Not sure why. Maybe because it's a doubleheader. This and that I believe is for the first game because it is a noon start, and I think they came out and said Jason DeCaro is going to throw game 1, Aiden Haw is going to throw game 2. It's Jack Serbett for Texas Tech game 1, Matt Hoyer game 2 for Texas Tech.
Yeah, they're throwing off in game 1. I really like this. This is a money line parlay piece for me. And I didn't even know DeCaro was going game 1, but I like it. If it was DeCaro, if it was Knapp, if it was Boaz, if it was Hauk, I don't really even care because in the bullpen, this is just a super deep pitching staff. I think that in the first game of the weekend, they'll be able to deploy a bunch of different arms in any matchup they want. I mean, they bring back Matthew Mateus, Kyle Percival, Olin Johnson, Cameron Padgett, all with good innings from an Omaha team last year. So North Carolina is one of my more comfortable picks for moneyline parlays tomorrow.
I like so kind of in the same breath as Duke Cincinnati. UNC actually guys one of the toughest opening matchups as for one of the top teams. This is a very difficult opening series. Like Texas Tech isn't the team that they were a few years ago, the Omaha bound team, the danger under Tim Tadlock that had Jace Young and a couple of these other stars, but there's still some dogs. TJ Pompey, Dalton Bravo, even though they lose Gavin Cash, there is some production in this Texas Tech lineup. I do think Texas Tech could get one this weekend. I don't think it would be against Jason DeCaro. I'd probably say game 2 tomorrow. They'd be live with Matt Hoyer, who's probably their best weekend arm. It wouldn't surprise me to see Texas Tech get one. This is an instance where maybe in game 2, if they were like a 2.5 run dog and you can get 2.5 runs with Texas Tech, game 2, I probably would look at that. Game 1, I do like UNC. Obviously part of a parlay with Jason DeCaro going.
Speaking of, Johnny spiked my memory there. I'm scrolling through. Damian Bruno liked the picture that I posted of Arizona being 2025 College World Series national champions. I don't know what the hell that means, but he followed me ever since I put him on one of the graphics that I was doing in the preseason a bunch. And he's one of Texas Tech's better players. So who the hell knows? Maybe I spiked up some locker room material for later on in the year.
I think you may have there. Yeah. Excited to watch that one. Noon is the first game there. Excited to tune in. Next up, we got the Campbell Camels, right? A year ago, they were a fun team, or 2 years ago, they were a really fun
2 years
team.
ago, they were really fun.
Yeah. They're plus 210 on the money line against UC Santa Barbara in Santa Barbara there. Beautiful Santa Barbara. UC Santa Barbara minus 285 on the money line. The run line for the Gauchos minus 1.5 at minus 145. Meanwhile, for the Camels, plus 105 at plus 114 odds there. And then the over-under set at 9.5. Bieniek, does Campbell have any chance of maybe like staying in this game and perhaps knocking off the Gauchos?
Yeah, so I'm pretty tired, and I might have said Damian Bruno. It's Bravo, I believe. But yeah, Campbell, UC Santa Barbara. Once upon a time, there was a top 25 ranked Gauchos team playing a Camels team on opening day, and the Gauchos had a top 5 consensus MLB draft prospect named Matt Ager, and they lost to the Camels on opening day
last year.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that.
Back to back, baby. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Back to back.
No, you're good.
Opening series, back to back years they open up.
Yeah. So this is the return game of the home and home series in the opening weekend. And I'm not saying it's impossible that Campbell could go out and do it again. Am I going to predict it? Hell no. I mean, Tyler Bremner is pretty damn good. And the guy that they are electing with is Jake Murray. And I pulled up Murray. He didn't pitch at all in 2024. And I can't figure out why. One reason why the Camels season completely tanked was injuries. And this guy might have been one of those. He's got 42 career innings under his belt in 2 years. This is a redshirt junior season for him. And in his career, he's got a 4.50 ERA, 44 strikeouts in 42 innings. I'm not like too high on him, but Santa Barbara's offense isn't going to blow anybody away. So I think Campbell's going to be right there with him. That total of 9.5 tells you this is going to be a close game. So plus 210, Campbell is my juicy dog for the day for the game for this show.
Yeah, Campbell's always a tough team. Santa Barbara with Tyler Bremner obviously is going to be something that we look at a lot this year. I put Santa Barbara in a parlay when the lines opened last night when the line was a lot less. Now I would say with the line ballooning to 285, I'd probably keep it out just because Santa Barbara to me isn't a team that always impresses me. Like I think we covered this last night. We always expect this Santa Barbara team to be the mid-major darling because they always have pitching. They have 2-3 starters deep. They have several bullpen stud arms. Now you got Tyler Bremner, who's one of the top pitchers in the country, who's going to be one of the top picks this summer, and we expect them to be good. But their offense isn't anything special. Like the fact that you have Tyler Bremner and this totals, projected 9.5 against a guy who didn't even pitch at all last year says something. If anything, I might look at Campbell on the run line. But honestly, if you didn't get Santa Barbara when they were less as part of a money line parlay, then I'd probably stay away from this one. I think Campbell's live to get at least one this weekend. I don't love Santa Barbara. Their offense is just it's not that good. They rely on a couple guys to maybe hit a home run or a couple extra bases, but this is a big number, and you're only laying it because of Tyler Bremner. And again, the pitching this weekend, we can't count on, especially these star pitchers, to be going that deep. We just can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's tempting. It's tempting there to jump on these Camels. Maybe I'll add them to a parlay. Vanderbilt, we talked about it. Damani in the chat. Shout out to Damani, big Vanderbilt Commodores, alum and fan of their other teams. Minus 166 on the money line as they're in Scottsdale, Arizona, taking on the Antelopes of Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon plus 130 on the money line at home somewhat. Obviously, there's universities in Phoenix, but Scottsdale right down the road there. The Vanderbilt is minus 1.5 on the run line at minus 130. The Antelopes are obviously plus 1.5 at plus 100. The over-under at 13.5. Vandy's always been known for the great pitching. Bieniek, Grand Canyon, will they have the crowd? I'd say, right?
Yes,
I mean,
100%.
Yeah, they always have a great crowd.
These games are always lit. This is like they're circle it on the calendar. Like, their basketball home environment. They actually had a band in this game last year. Their Friday night MLB Network showcase game. I forget who it was up against, but these games that Grand Canyon always play, that they get the Friday night game in this tournament every single year. They pulled off an upset against Tennessee. I think it was in 22 or 23.
23. Dolly was pitching.
The games are always low scoring. GCU's really getting. They always have one or two really good arms. This year it's Isaac Lyon. He struck out 79 in 81 innings last season with a 3.97 ERA, only 16 walks. This is a dude. Vanderbilt's offense, not great. They're also without two pieces. One of them, off the top of my head, is Brody Johnston. I think the other one is Mike Mancini. So that really hurts because those were two of the new additions from the portal that were supposed to add to the power of this team to, be able to add another dimension of the offense instead of having to manufacture a run all the way around the bases. Maybe if you put one over the wall, you could be a higher scoring team. Anyways, 13.5 is outrageous. Give me this under. Lock it up.
Yeah, I couldn't believe.
Sorry. I was playing his lock music right there. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I couldn't believe when I saw this total drop that it was 13.5. You have JD Thompson on one side, who is one of my favorite pitchers in the country. I think he's a top 5 arm in the nation. I think he's going to be one of the top 5 college pitchers off the board this summer. He was a star down the stretch last year for Vandy, really earned that Friday night role. lefty with a fastball that tops out at 95, but he gets a lot of swing and misses on his fastball, commands it both sides of the plate, has a pretty good sweeping slider to mix in with a curve and a changeup. He gets a lot of strikeouts. He had over 70 strikeouts in 52 innings last year. Doesn't walk a ton of batters. His Sierra was in the 2.2s. So, like, this kid is a legitimate dog. This is an ace in the SEC on a Friday night. And there's not many legitimate Friday night starters in this year's college baseball. And J.D. Thompson is one of them. They have a really good stopper by the name of Miller Green coming in. Their offense is supposed to be a lot better. I'm glad you brought up Brody Johnson and Mike Mancini are going to be out in this one. That's a bit of a bummer. I do think overall Vanderbilt's lineup is going to be a lot better than it was last year. RJ Austin, you have Chris Maldonado coming back, Jonathan Vastein's returning, etc. I like Vanderbilt to win this one because I'm going with the better pitcher. But listen, Isaac Lyon is good. He's the preseason WAC 12 pitcher of the year. This is a post-Daniel Avisha era for Grand Canyon. They have some bats. Even though that's the case, I like Vanderbilt to win this one. They're going to find a way to get it done with J.D. Thompson on the mound. And, yeah, the 13.5 didn't make any sense. I feel like this should be closer to 12 at most. So I like Vandy in the under here. I'm going to add the under 13.5 as an official play.
Yeah, I'm not sure I actually picked this game. I'm going to go with GCU. I think there's some value on the plus 130.
You asshole.
I'll jump into the under as well at 13.5. Guys, Nate in the chat was curious about Old Dominion taking on Georgia Tech. I don't know that made the slides, right? So you got anything on the hot potatoing this right now? You like the Monarchs on the road there in Atlanta, or
pitchers still coming out Friday night? It's been tough for me, just not in my typical space. Let us come back to that. Let me look to see if we've got any pitching announcements on that.
Sure. Hunter Vic, I think you were asking where to watch these. Tomorrow, your best friend is going to be ESPN Plus and Flow Sports. I know Flow Sports makes you pay. It is what it is. You know what I mean? They're going to make you pay, but you
transfer it after a month.
Yeah.
I just re-upped.
Yeah, we got it here too. I mean, I was watching they have a CAA contract. They have D2, D3 for all these other sports too. I mean, they really dive deep, but at the same time, it definitely is something. You can get that free 30-day trial period though. Let's get that. Next up, Louisville, the Cods. Bieniek is going to be catching them alive as they hit the road to Arlington, Texas to take on the Longhorns. Texas minus 160 on the money line. Obviously, they stole the headlines in the offseason, I would say. Louisville plus 125 on the money line. The run line is the Cards are plus 1.5 at minus 145. Meanwhile, Texas, the run line minus 1.5 at plus 114. The over under set at 10.5. Are you surprised at the over/under in this game? Perhaps. Curious your thoughts in general. The whole game, though, Johnny. What are you doing here?
I like Texas. When the line came out. Listen, Louisville was a team we talked about when we discussed the ACC. I don't think Louisville is going to be bad. I think they're going to be a lot better than they were last year, even though they lose Gavin Killen, who's one of their big pieces. But they have Eddie King, Zion Rose. They have a couple guys in their lineup. They have a good Friday night guy who earned it, Patrick Forbes, in a brand new pitching system that doesn't have Evan Webster or Sebastian Gongora. Forbes is solid. Don't get me wrong. But Texas, man, this is like Jim Schlossnagle, the new era of Texas baseball that's going to have one of the best lineups in the country. You bring in Ethan Mendoza from Arizona State. You got my boy Max Bailu. Will Gasparino's bound for a monster rebound season. Jalen Flores, Kimber Schusel, etc. Texas's offense is so good that I think they're going to be able to get to Patrick Forbes. And I worry a little bit about what Louisville has in the bullpen in the later innings. And listen, Jared Spencer, in a slew of transfer pitchers coming over from Indiana State, was decent last year. I expect Spencer to be solid against this Louisville lineup. Listen, this is the new era in Texas baseball. I think Schlossnagle is going to come out with the win. I feel like Max Wiener, one of the top pitching coaches coming over from Texas A&M with Schlossnagle, has got these guys ready to go. The Texas pitching is going to be fine. Give me them in a home game against Louisville.
Yeah, and I want to add in that I think, this was such a big headline in the offseason. I think it's kind of critical for him to win the first game here of the season, get off on the right foot. So I kind of like throwing this into the parlay too. Bieniek, what are you doing here?
I think this game is very interesting. Jared Spencer's, I've heard really good things about his development in the fall and early winter here with Texas, and Max Wiener and the arm farm there that he calls himself and his pitching staff. So he's the transfer from Indiana State, kind of a weird left-handed arm angle. He's only got 9 starts to his belt, but he's been, around the block as he was on that Indiana State team that went to the Super Regionals 2 years ago. The Texas offense is good, yes. And the one thing I'm a little bit nervous about is, yes, this is an MLB pitcher-friendly park. Again, park factor, 3rd worst for hitters. Louisville's outfield defense is the strength of this team. They've got speed everywhere. Eddie King, Zion Rose, Lucas Moore, and even Tate Davis. I don't know exactly who they're going to throw in as that 3rd outfielder, but they're going to be able to run down a couple of these gap shots, I have a feeling. So I think this is more of a low-scoring game, even though there are some, unproven production from these starting pitchers in Patrick Forbes and Jared Spencer. But I actually like Tucker Biven, who's the closer of Louisville. He's got experience, and Texas is really excited about Ruger Riojas. That actually I've heard is their best arm in the pitching staff, and they're going to use him late in games and leverage innings. That way he just goes 100% for 1 or 2 innings for most of these games. So I like the under 10.5 as my pick, and I'll go with Texas to win the game.
There we go. I also want to. I know you're going to check back on the ODU Georgia Tech game, but we also we also have Ohio State, Arizona State. People want to know about that game.
Yeah, Tate McKee is getting the nod for Georgia Tech. That's good enough for me to give them the edge. The offense is going to be able to hit. I'm once again really high on the Yellow Jackets being able to put up some runs this year, and I do believe that is their best arm. So go ahead, green light with a money line parlay piece if they're juiced up there. But if you want to play it straight, it's not a bad idea. I don't know who Old Dominion's throwing to give you a better answer, but I think Georgia Tech should be suited just fine. Johnny, you got anything on Ohio State, Arizona State?
Arizona State was a play I gave out straight when they were minus 195 before they got ballooned. I caught it early because I had a feeling Ben Jacobs was going to be throwing, and he is. And we've talked so much about this during the Big 12 show. Arizona State is a team that I have winning the Big 12. I think they're going to be a dark horse this year. I think they're going to be able to threaten to get into Omaha. This is the 4th year of Willie Bloomquist's program. It's time to shit or get off the pot. He's going to have one of his best teams he's had maybe ever. Even though they lost 2 of their best bats, it's still a lot of talent. They got Kean Vu leading the charge, who had a .413 average last year, double-digit home runs. But Ben Jacobs is the big key for me. Ben Jacobs is probably going to be one of the top 7, top 8 starters / pitchers this year. He's a guy, if you don't know about him, he's probably going to be a first rounder this summer. Lefty with a lot of strikeout juice, over 100 Ks in 66 innings last year. This is going to be a guy that you're going to be backing a lot. Arizona State is going to be a good team this year. He's going to lead the charge of a dark horse team. He's going to be a guy that you bet on a lot during Friday nights. Now that the line is ballooned past being able to play at minus 270, Arizona State is a good parlay piece with Ben Jacobs. I really like the Sun Devils this year.
Yeah, to Daniel's comment here about Willie Bloomquist, D1 Baseball and Mike Rooney actually did an interview with the Arizona State athletic director, and they gave Willie Bloomquist such a vote of confidence that they're actually going to go to 34 full scholarships after this season. So I think he's comfortable for another year or two. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I think you could do better at Arizona State, but that's what it is.
Hey, that's my team.
There we go. And I saw some Louisiana Lafayette talk from Hezekiah Charles there Sunbelt Pitcher of the Year, Chase Morgan. Good parlay piece with Oregon State and UVA. He's saying, let's go. Next up, let's get to 11.7 Pick'em and Survivor. Bieniek, you care to explain, like, if you're brand new to the show, which I saw some people up there saying, I'm trying to get into college baseball. Explain to them how this works.
All right. So podcast group called 11.7. I get along with them really well. Actually, why not rip the Band-Aid off now? It's going to be coming out tomorrow that I'm going to be joining their team for college baseball content this season. More than just gambling, because that's just something that I wanted to do, is have a little bit more of an appetite in the sport of college baseball, and they're going to give it to me. So really excited there. But I mean, this is just organic. Colby and I have been doing these series pick'ems on our shows for 2 years now. This is the third year they're doing it. Basically, you go through their Patreon to sign up. It's $11.70 a month to compete in this. You're picking the winners of these 6 series that they choose. They choose the 6 best and most closely competitive series of the weekend. And basically you're choosing which team's going to win. And at the end of the year, the winner gets a all included stay in Omaha and tickets to the first weekend of the College World Series. So I know good buddy Quentin Mills of College Baseball Insiders won it last year. I was nipping at his heels the entire year. I was 2 games behind him going into the final 2 weeks of that last year. So I'm back, ready to go at it again. And then the Survivor, you just choose the most confident game in this selection of series, and that's your Survivor. So each week as you advance, there's also a prize for winning that pool. It's the same one. Go to Omaha, free hotel stay, and tickets to the first weekend of games. I also am running SEC specific and ACC specific Survivor pools. You can sign up on Twitter. I think more competition and more fun in the community is what is needed. So I figured I'd step up and run a Google Sheets. And no, Hunter Vic, I'm not leaving TCE.
So right now, if you're listening to us on the audio side, you get your choice of Northeastern. The Huskies are heading down to the Clits to take on Charlotte. Illinois State is heading to Bowling Green, Kentucky, to take on Western Kentucky. Let me know if any of these are neutral site games. I can't recall.
No, they're all series. Illinois State Western Kentucky is a 4-game series. So if it goes 2-2 split in Survivor, I think you advance is their rule on that. So yeah, if it's 2-2, I think it's just going to count as a tie or a no-go. But that's one of the better mid-major series of the weekend.
You also have Texas Tech, North Carolina. We talked about earlier. Ohio State against Arizona State in Tempe there. Missouri State taking out Sam Houston State at the Bear Claw in Huntsville, Texas. And then West Virginia heading down to Jacksonville, Florida to take on the Dolphins. And Weehawk also, shout out to Weehawk in the chat. He goes, you'll find me in the parking lot in Omaha and can share some beverages with you. So hit up Weehawk goes every year.
He's got Rocco's as his profile picture now on YouTube. I don't know.
There we go. Jello shot challenge. If you're not familiar, you got to 357 our college baseball games televised. How do we watch? We kind of alluded to this earlier. ESPN Plus will be your best friend, but also Flow Sports for some of these preseason tournaments. Also, they have the contract, I believe, with the CAA and maybe one other conference. But ESPN Plus, one thing, like it's free via the app or if you on your laptop or something. But you can get a lot of, whether it's college basketball, college football, college sports in general. It's just a must-have in my opinion. So there you go. There. Johnny, I'm curious, when you look at this, what do you see? I mean, I know we talked what, 3 of these games, right? Or 2 of these games.
Yeah. Now we're just choosing who's going to win the series.
Yeah. Okay. So for the whole series, Northeastern at Charlotte, We're deep sea diving a little bit here with the
I went with the Clits. I think they're in store for a bounce back season this year. Northeastern disappointed a little bit last year. They do have a couple of returning stars in Avon Cabral and Cam Maldonado, but I think as Colby always says, it's hard to win on the road in college sports. And the secret to the sauce of this contest is home teams win like 80% of these series. So I went with Charlotte here. Like I said earlier with the Michigan handicap, northern baseball teams, when they head down south, they struggle to play defense just because they're not outside practicing every single day like some teams in the South can because of the weather. All they've been able to do is hit. And in my opinion, Northeastern's not the greatest hitting team. So I'm going to go with the Charlotte 49ers there.
Yeah, I would echo the sentiment. Northeastern was a team that I really liked as a super long shot last year. I had a pretty good ticket on Northeastern at 2,500 to 1 to win it all that I took last January. I thought they were going to have a lot of talent pitching wise. Mike Sirota leading the charge, and they were a big disappointment. And opening weekend, they disappointed me. They went out and they were pretty uncompetitive in Arizona. I know they won a game, but like just so many dumb errors and mental mistakes. And Charlotte is a good program, and they always seem to have a good team. And the fact that they're home, that they've been playing, in outside as opposed to playing in a gym, I think Charlotte would be the pick that I would go with. And knowing what I know about Northeastern from last year, I expect a slow start again.
Yeah, I'll join you on the Clits as well. As the road warrior, perhaps I'm intrigued by the Illinois State angle in this game. Bieniek, what are you doing with the Redbirds coming into Bowling Green, Kentucky there? You're on mute, brother.
Well, the road warrior in this contest is not necessarily my style. I'm once again going with the home team here in Western Kentucky. They returned 4 of their 5 best hitters from a season ago, and also there's a good contingent from the pitching staff returning from 2024. Illinois State, I think, is going to be a good team as well, but I'll take the Tops.
Johnny, what are you doing? Yeah, same thing. You're going to load Western up with the Tops. Yeah.
Yep, I like I like going. Most of the time, unless there's a ridiculous pitching advantage, I think home teams, especially early on in the season, is the way to go.
Also, I did see up in the chat some talk about what is Thomas Allen says, what is the site you guys use to keep up with the scores? What is the best site?
WarrenNolan.com. It's free. There are a couple of ads that make it annoying, but that's going to be your best go-to. It'll be your best friend.
Yeah, Warren Nolan. Sometimes it doesn't update, so when it doesn't update, D1 baseball is usually pretty good.
Yeah, you just have to subscribe to it to get their scores. But yeah,
what the scores are even. Yeah. You have to. Jeez.
Let's hop on over. I mean, Texas Tech, North Carolina. I'm on the heels there. But yeah, I know we kind of alluded to, I think Carolina will be the play. Obviously we have a double header now, but any of us have Texas Tech winning the series, Bieniek?
Series?
Nope. This is my survivor play. Give me North Carolina.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I think Texas Tech might get one game. I think they can get one game. But
yeah. Ohio State at Arizona State. I feel like all of us are on the Sun Devils. Mainly Bieniek, his analysis is it's Ohio State. Fuck Ohio State, he says.
Yeah.
But Bieniek, you feel pretty good about the Sun Devils taking that series?
Yeah, I do. Johnny's really high on the Sun Devils this season, and I understand why he is. I want to see it from Willie Bloomquist first. But there's plenty of talent on this team, and there's more talent on this team than there is Ohio State, plain and simple. Ohio State got raided in the transfer portal after Mosiello took the hitting coach job with TCU. Justin Hare, I think, is going to do a good job at Ohio State, and it pains me to say that. But I just don't think that this team has great personnel. And week 1, I am not going to take them on the road in Tempe.
Yep.
Yeah. Johnny, I'm curious if you like the Sun Devils more than you do Carolina.
No, I like UNC. I like UNC
Okay.
more, but I think the Sun Devils would be my second. Out of this list, it would be UNC, then the Sun Devils ranked 1-2 in terms of confidence level.
Gotcha. So then we have Missouri State at Sam Houston State. Once again, kind of deep sea diving here. Sam Houston State at the Bear Claw. Bieniek, home teams continue. You going straight? 6 home teams in a row?
No, I'm going to take the Bears here. They have mid-major star power in this batting lineup. 4 of their top hitters returned from last season. Zach Stewart and Caden Bogenpole are drawing MLB draft buzz. There's some real talent in the lineup. They'll struggle to pitch on the mound this season. Sam Houston is a good program. This is one that is pretty damn close to 50-50, but I'm going to throw in a road team here with the Missouri State Bears.
Johnny, yeah.
I'm going to go opposite. I like Sam Houston State. Sam Houston State always has some dogs. Home team here. I got my road game in the next series with West Virginia at Jacksonville.
Go ahead if you want to lead it off.
Yeah. So Sam Houston State here, but West Virginia, I don't think they're going to be necessarily a title contender this year, but I don't think they're going to be a disaster. I think they're going to be top half of the Big 12. They still have some talent, and Jacksonville is fun. They have a guy here or there, Evan Crest, at least when he started last year, was somebody that was very notable, and he transferred to FSU since. But I like West Virginia here. They still got some guys to pull this one off.
All right,
I'm on those Mountaineers too in that spot. What were you going to say, Bieniek?
You want to recap some of our best bets? Did you write down yours, Colby, or do you already place yours?
I am for the whole show or for out of this 6.
No, for the whole show now.
Sure.
Did you give it out a Survivor on that?
I was gonna say Arizona State would be. Look, these guys are all on the Tar Heels. Give me the Sun Devils going up against an Ohio State team that seems to be a little bit of a mess. So let's go there. Shout out to Daniel Katie. That's the Daniel Katie play of the day right there. Shout out to the longtime listener there that I know is a Sun Devils fan. As far as top plays, Bieniek, lead the way.
All right, so I really like the totals tomorrow. I am even more of a totals player. I don't have nearly as good of a percentage in baseball as I do basketball right now, but Vanderbilt Grand Canyon under 13.5 seems pretty much free. I think that number is like 3 runs too high. Night games in Arizona, the ball doesn't really fly as much. And Grand Canyon always puts up really good fights against these top teams on the Friday night opening night in this MLB Desert Invitational. I like Michigan, Virginia over 12.5, mainly because Evan Blanco is not going for Virginia. He's their one consistent arm that they had returning from last season. I do like Woolfolk. He has the potential to be a really good starter, but he was iffy last year, getting the ball on a Friday night opening day. I don't know what he can give me. Dylan Vigneault almost had an 8 ERA last season, going up against maybe the best lineup in the country. For Michigan there. And then we've got my favorite money line parlay of the day, minus 120 is what I got it when I placed it before I left Michigan. So this is probably like minus 150 now. But I like Duke and North Carolina as money line parlay pieces. The other one that I said was a money line parlay piece was Virginia. Campbell is
Campbell, right?
210. No,
didn't you say that? I could have swore you said you're going to take the money line on Campbell.
No, as maybe like a long shot dog, they would be it. But I have 2 dogs that I'm giving out on the show. Stetson, they were plus 135 last night. I don't know what they're at right now. I've played all the way to 130. I'd play it all the way to even money. I think they're just as good as the UConn team. UConn's got experience, but I mean, I gave out Stetson to go to Omaha. Come on now. And then Penn State plus 135 against Missouri. Missouri's Friday night starter had UCL surgery just 2 weeks ago. And I think Penn State's really underrated. And we were joking around about it in our college baseball content creators chat. It's just the SEC tax on Missouri. That's just crazy. I'll take the Nittany Lions at plus money. And then for fun, because I had some money left over and I wasn't going to have another bet for the entire weekend, I threw in together a 3-team parlay of all 3 games that I'll be watching tomorrow: Oklahoma State, Arizona, and Texas.
Like it. Johnny, what do you got?
All right. Official card. Texas money line, Vanderbilt money line. I like JD Thompson. I know Grand Canyon is going to be tough, but ultimately in the back end of the bullpen is where I think the game is going to be won for Vandy. I will admit I didn't realize that the 2 losses of Brody Johnston and Mike Mancini were not playing when I made the Vanderbilt play, but ultimately I went with the Vandy boys because of JD Thompson. So I like Vanderbilt there. I like the under 13.5. We gave that out live on the show. ASU I gave out when it was 195. Now it's 270. I think it's part of a parlay piece. I like Clemson. I like Penn State. I got them at 150 when they were 150. I agree with Noah. We talked about this. It's the Penn State, or it's the SEC tax. We talked about Penn State in the Big Ten preview. I think they're going to be a top 5 team in the conference, yet they're getting disrespected. The odds to win the Big Ten in some places are bottom 5 odds. They're like, there's 55 to 1s, 60 to 1s out there for Penn State to win the conference, which I don't understand. I think they're closer to 15 to 1. I think they're going to be a top 5 team in the Big Ten. And I like a money line parlay of UVA, Oregon State, and I had Santa Barbara in my 3-teamer when they were a lot less. And if you're looking to get that action early, one thing that I talked about on Breaking Bet, my podcast earlier tonight, I would probably do, and I did this in one parlay where I kind of just took a bunch of different things. I would like to fade a lot of the cold weather teams. Like Stetson, I think, is going to be a really good pick. Noah, you're on it. Rice against Villanova, Liberty against St. John's. All these cold weather teams that haven't been experienced in playing baseball this year, that have been playing indoors compared to these other teams that have been playing outside in warmer weather, that have a little bit more, I don't want to say that are in better game shape, because nobody's actually in game shape, but they're used to playing outside and they've been getting more reps. I think I would probably look at a lot of those teams that are playing the cold weather group. And I think Stetson being an underdog, a surplus of talent in states of Florida, Texas, California. I think because of those guys are rejects and don't play at the FSUs and the Texases and the Texas A&Ms, those are still really good players on really good teams. And I think Stetson's a perfect example of that. So I think getting them as a money line dog is good as well.
The other angle on the Stetson one that I forgot to mention is that even though UConn's been to 2 super regionals in the last 3 years, the last 2 seasons they've started out like an absolute train wreck on the road early on in the year, to Johnny's point. So
the chat was also referencing, shout out to Go Beeves, big Oregon State fan. Stanford versus Cal State Fullerton. You guys got anything there? I mean, Bieniek, I know you're super high on Stanford this year.
It's a rivalry game. It's a bit too expensive for my taste.
I would lean Cal State Fullerton, if anything. I think they're going to get at least one in that weekend series. And Matt Scott, see, you're paying a little bit extra because Matt Scott is a Friday guy and he's a potential first rounder this year. But we know Matt Scott, as good as he is, and he's got good stuff, he has a bad habit sometimes where he gets hit pretty hard. And I just talked about the surplus of talent in states like Florida and Texas. Add California to that list. Cal State Fullerton always gets up for these games. They always get up for these random weekend series where they look really good. So I think Cal State Fullerton is going to take at least one game in this Stanford series. So, if they it wouldn't surprise me if they win tomorrow night.
All right, look, some of the plays I like. You guys sold me on the under in the Vandy Grand Canyon matchup. Same with the over in the Michigan Virginia game. I'm loading up on Texas. I love the Texas play. I don't think they're going to lose the opener there with all the news in the offseason. I'm going to sprinkle that Campbell money line that I thought Bieniek was committed to, and then one that I really like is the Clemson game. I'm going to take Clemson just money line. to get it done there against the Cowboys. And yeah, I think those are the plays. I might add Nebraska to the card. We'll see. But loading up there. Anything else you guys want to tackle before we get out of here?
Before we get out of here, shout out to Chris Williams of Rev Entertainment, who allowed me to sit up here perched for the show while the batting practice and team practices were going on. Everybody's out, and they've been out for like 15 minutes now, and the place is empty. It's actually kind of cool. I love it.
One thing I wanted to ask you about, and I did this before. I looked on two different books, Florida State, JMU. There was a 4.5 on the run line for JMU for a little while, and Florida State was 3.5 on the run line. Now it's 3.5 everywhere. I took FSU minus 3.5 on the run line on DK and JMU plus 4.5. Not really risking much. So if it doesn't middle, I don't lose more than a few dollars. Because something about this, like JMU last year took it to Hagen Smith opening day. Jamie Arnold obviously is a superstar. But, like, I don't know if I love Florida State this year. Do we think JMU is worth it on the run line? Maybe. Do you think they get one game this weekend?
I think they could be feisty in one game. I can't pick it, but it would be game 2 or game 3, the one that Arnold doesn't throw. Because we've seen James Madison be able to jump up in the past and bite somebody. So
the chat was also mentioning this, and Washington, Kansas State doing battle. K-State at minus 1.5 runs at minus 135. The over/under at 14.5. Minus 200 on the money line. If you like the Wildcats, I mean, I kind of like the Wildcats at this spot. Bieniek, am I crazy?
I like the Wildcats too. It wasn't like a big enough matchup to where like I would be able to 100% say that we were going to get betting odds, and that's why I didn't make the card in the slideshow today. But yeah, Kansas State seems like a pretty good bet.
What do we think? Do we do a little early parlay? Stetson, Kansas State.
I like it. I'm in.
Why not?
I'm in. Let's go.
Get the day off started with a little cash, a little scratch.
Let's go. Let's go right there. We'll be back too, folks. We're just getting started. The season just happening here. So jump on over and subscribe to the College Baseball Experience wherever you get your podcast. And all of these youtube.com/the college experience. Tell a friend. Also, make sure you check out Johnny's work, all of his stuff. You know, the Breaking Bet podcast, he does fantastic stuff. He's on Twitter at _JohnnyVTV. Also, so that Twitter or X, get on over there, follow. But also Noah Bieniek live from the bullpen right there.
Yeah. We'll be doing another live show tomorrow, recapping the action, and if there are any betting odds out, we'll take some early looks. But yeah, there will be a lot to talk about after opening day tomorrow.
There you go, and give Noah a follow on Twitter at NoahB77 _.
Shout out to the 1,150 that tuned in tonight too on all platforms. 120 currently watching on YouTube. Good stuff. Happy opening day, everybody.
Let's go. I'm on Twitter at Colby D. The College Baseball Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. We'll be back in an hour and a half talking college basketball. Myself, Moneyline Mac, and guest CJ Sullivan, the bet detective, host of the Bottom Line Bombs podcast. Check out that as well. And yeah, check out the College Football Experience. Till next time, folks. See you tomorrow. Happy opening day. Merry Christmas, college baseball. This is the College Baseball Experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot.